December 1st, 2025, a bill passed the House of Representatives by voice vote, not a party line fight, not a contentious floor debate, a voice vote, almost no media coverage. I found it on a news aggregator buried under crypto headlines and Federal Reserve speculation, and the more I researched it, the more I realized almost nobody in financial media was connecting it to what's actually happening underneath the surface. The bill changes 3 official Social Security terms, 3 names, and those 3 names shape the retirement decisions of roughly 70 million Americans. Here's the layer that nobody surfaced. Social Security is completing a transition more than 40 years in the making right now. In 1983, Congress enacted an amendment increasing the full retirement age from 65 to 67, but metered out that increase over decades. 2026 is the last year anyone younger than 67 reaches full retirement age. The phase-in is done, and a new vocabulary bill just passed the House at exactly the same moment a new structural crisis is demanding a new fix. That is not a coincidence I'm willing to ignore. I'm Tom. You're watching Lazy Investor. 10+ years running my own business, surrounded by accountants and fiscal lawyers who taught me how money actually moves. Multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars invested. I read the boring documents, the SEC filings, the congressional research reports, the trustees' actuarial table, so you don't have to. And then I tell you what actually matters. This is one of those moments. The Claiming Age Clarity Act, H.R. 5284, was introduced by Representative Lloyd Smucker on September 10th, 2025. The Senate Companion Bill, S. 1504. An identical bill was introduced by Senator Bill Cassidy on April 29th, 2025. The bills would change certain terms that the Social Security Administration uses to describe the ages at which a beneficiary may claim Social Security retirement benefits. This is bipartisan. That's not nothing. On December 1st, 2025, the House passed H.R. 5284. As amended by voice vote, is now sitting in Senate committee. And here's what I'm going to show you in this video. What the bill actually does. Why the timing matters far more than the bill's sponsors are admitting publicly. What the Social Security Trust Fund math actually means for your retirement clock. And the break-even calculation that most online retirement calculators are getting completely wrong. If you're between 30 and 55 and Social Security is anywhere in your retirement math, which statistically it is, this video is directly relevant to real dollars. Before I take you into the details, I need to give you the lens I'm going to use to see everything in this video. When a used car lot changes the label on a high mileage vehicle from used car to certified pre-owned asset, the car doesn't change. The miles don't change. The mechanical reality doesn't change. What changes is the split-second emotional reaction in your brain before logic kicks in. That's the only lever they pulled, and it works. That framing shift consistently generates a price premium that has no connection to the vehicle's actual condition. That's the lens. Same miles, new label. Keep that phrase ready. You'll need it multiple times before this video is over. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you the trust fund math that should restructure your entire Social Security timeline. But first, let me explain why renaming 3 words in a government document is not as trivial as it sounds, because this is where the real information is. The bills would change certain terms that the SSA uses to describe the ages at which a beneficiary may claim Social Security benefits. Specifically, the legislation would replace early eligibility age with minimum monthly benefit age, replace full retirement age and normal retirement age with standard monthly benefit age, and remove the term delayed retirement credit, naming the age up to which a delayed retirement credit can be applied as maximum monthly benefit age. Under the bill, the SSA would name age 62, the minimum monthly benefit age, the full retirement age, the standard monthly benefit age, and age 70, the maximum monthly benefit age, and would remove delayed retirement credit references in all of its materials no later than 12 months after enactment of this act, or January 1st, 2027, whichever is later. The sponsors make a legitimate argument. Studies show that people are confused by the terms describing benefit claiming ages for Social Security and are generally uninformed about how their claiming decisions affect their monthly benefits. As a result, many of today's seniors are missing out on substantial retirement income because of suboptimal claiming decisions. And there's real data behind this. SSA statistics show that a majority of retired worker beneficiaries claim benefits before their full retirement age. In 2024, of about 3.3 million new retired worker beneficiaries that year, 26% claimed benefits at age 62 and 54% were under age 66. Approximately 25% of new retired worker beneficiaries claimed benefits at age 66, while 21% were age 67 or older. Now compare that to 14 years earlier. In 2010, 52% of new retired worker beneficiaries were age 62, and 81% were younger than 66. That is a staggering shift. The percentage of people claiming at 62 dropped from 52% to 26%, cut in half over 14 years, without changing the benefit formula, without changing any ages. Many factors affect the ages at which retired workers claim Social Security benefits, such as policy changes, family considerations, and educational information made available, including the Social Security statement. Words and framing already move the needle by 26 percentage points. Language is doing real financial work inside this system. This is where most people stop and say, okay, clear language, good, and move on. But the story doesn't stop there, because you think the problem HR 5284 is solving is consumer confusion. The actual problem it may be setting the stage to solve is the most expensive structural challenge Social Security has faced since 1983. And that's where this gets genuinely important. Stay with me here, because this next part rewires the entire frame. On April 20th, 1983, President Reagan signed the Social Security amendments. The 1983 Social Security reform came just in the nick of time. The program was just months away from being unable to pay all benefits due to retirees, as it quickly depleted the Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund. The provisions included accelerating the scheduled payroll tax increase enacted in 1977, gradually raising the full retirement age from 65 to 67, and making 50% of Social Security benefit income taxable for recipients with overall incomes above $25,000 for an individual and $32,000 for a married couple filing jointly. The retirement age increase was phased in over decades, deliberately, slowly. In effect, the 1983 amendment was a benefit cut. However, it was implemented in a manner that allowed workers to prepare for smaller Social Security benefits in retirement over the course of several decades. Nobody announced a benefit cut. They announced a retirement age adjustment, and nobody felt a single discrete moment of loss. The people who voted for it in 1983 mostly aren't around anymore. The people who bore the cost were born in 1960 or later, and that phase-in just completed this year. The math on that benefit cut is more concrete than most people realize. When the full retirement age was 65, claiming at 62 meant getting 80% of your full benefit. When the normal retirement age reached 67, workers claiming early pensions at age 62 received 70% of a full pension. That's a 10 percentage point reduction in what claiming at 62 pays you, executed across 4 decades, wrapped in language that sounded like a neutral demographic adjustment. Same miles, new label. By the way, hit subscribe if you want to keep seeing this kind of research. The YouTube algorithm effectively buries this channel if you don't. One click keeps this showing up in your feed. Now look at where we are in 2026. The Social Security Board of Trustees released its annual report on the financial status of the Social Security trust funds. The combined reserves of the Old Age and Survivors Insurance and Disability Insurance Trust Funds are projected to have enough dedicated revenue to pay all scheduled benefits and associated administrative costs until 2034, 1 year earlier than projected last year, with 81% of benefits payable at that time. The OASI Trust Fund is projected to become depleted in 2033, the same year as last year's estimate, with 77% of benefits payable at that time. And here's something that just made that window even tighter. In August 2025, Social Security's chief actuary reported that the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which was signed by the president on July 4th, 2025, will advance trust fund depletion to 2032. 2032, that is 6 years from now. If Congress does nothing, and Congress has historically waited until the last possible moment, upon insolvency, Social Security is legally required to reduce outlays to match revenues, which would result in an across-the-board 23% cut in retirement benefits. This cut would grow to 31% by the end of the 75-year projection window. A typical couple retiring in the year of insolvency would face a $16,500 reduction to their annual benefits, not zero benefits. 77 cents on the dollar. For the average couple receiving around $3,200 a month today, that's a roughly $740 monthly cut. Automatic, no vote required. And the underlying structural math is only getting harder to fix. The aging US population has placed an unprecedented burden on a workforce that is growing more slowly. In 1960, there were more than 5 workers paying Social Security taxes per beneficiary. But that ratio has dropped to just 3 to 1 in 2024 and is projected to decline to less than 2.5 to 1 by the middle of the century. One major reason is peak 65, the period from 2024 to 2027 in which more than 4.1 million Americans are turning 65 each year, the largest surge of retirements in our nation's history. Now look at what's on the table. One key plan in the Republican Study Committee's budget would raise the full retirement age from 67 to 69. The House Republican Study Committee, a caucus of 176 House Republican members, has proposed multiple changes to Social Security. Reports indicate that the budget proposes to raise the retirement age at which Americans can receive full Social Security benefits to 69. This higher full retirement age would cut Social Security benefits. According to Center for American Progress Analysis, a full retirement age of 69 would cut benefits for all new retirees between roughly 12.5% and 14.3% by the time it is fully phased in. In addition, it would cost a median wage retiree who earned $70,000 in 2022 and turns 62 in 2034 thousands of dollars every year. Rand Paul tried to attach a full retirement age to 70 amendment to the Social Security Fairness Act. In December, Senator Rand Paul proposed an amendment to the Social Security Fairness Act that would raise the full retirement age to 70. That proposal did not pass. A December Congressional Budget Office analysis found moving the full retirement age to 70 would not fully address the program's 75-year shortfall. So the ceiling isn't even at 70. The solvency math demands more than any single lever can provide. Now, put all of this together. A program heading toward insolvency in 2032 to 34. A documented proposal to raise the full retirement age from 67 to 69. And in September 2025, months after the trust fund math got worse, months after the FRA to 69 proposal was put on paper, Congress passes a bill that quietly replaces full retirement age with standard monthly benefit age, a neutral name, a technical name, a name that can be reassigned to a different age number without triggering the emotional charge that we're raising the full retirement age would produce. If the FRA moves from 67 to 69, Congress will announce a change to the standard monthly benefit age, not a benefit cut, a terminology update, same miles, new label. SSA's Office of the Chief Actuary estimates that enacting the full retirement age reform alone would reduce Social Security's long-range shortfall by 18%. Increases to the FRA provide a large financial boost to the Social Security trust funds because they reduce the benefit amount available to a claimant at any given age. That's the incentive. That's why it keeps coming back on the table. Knowing the trust fund timeline is depleting by 2032 and understanding what Congress is likely to do about it are two very different things. I built the Exit Code, a digital book, 8 chapters of pure retirement data analysis. No filler, specifically to convert that information into a mathematical framework you can act on. For this video's topic, The two most relevant pieces are the Social Security Bridge Strategy, which shows you exactly how to wait until age 70 to claim the maximum monthly benefit without depleting your savings in the gap years, and the mathematical framework that transforms "I'll probably retire around 65" into a specific date with a specific number. The book is built on 50 years of actual retirement data. You can get it through the link in the description for less than a single dinner out. The urgency is mathematical. Every year you spend without a real plan compounds against you in ways no single video can fully reverse. Before I show you the healthy life expectancy number that permanently reframes the whole claiming age debate, and it's a number that should stop you cold, let me walk you through exactly where the free calculators fail you on the timing math. Every free retirement calculator I've seen models the Social Security claiming question the same way. 2 lines. Claim at 62, you collect for more years, but each check is smaller. Wait until 67, the checks are larger, you collect for fewer years. The crossover point, what planners call the break even, lands somewhere around 76 to 78 years old, under one specific assumption: 0% return on early benefits. That assumption is the flaw, and it changes the math entirely. Claiming at 62 versus 70 produces a roughly 77% difference in monthly benefit for those with a full retirement age of 67. The single most impactful retirement income decision most people face. For someone with a full retirement age of 67 and a primary insurance amount of $2,000 per month, claiming at 62 produces approximately $1,400 per month. Claiming at 70 produces approximately $2,480 per month. A 77% difference in monthly income for the same earnings history. The break-even math at 0 return says, wait. But almost nobody leaves money sitting in a 0 return account for 8 years. If you take your Social Security early and invest every dollar received in US Treasuries currently yielding approximately 3.7 to 4.4% depending on duration, here is what happens to the break-even. At 2% annual return, the break-even shifts to roughly 81 years old. At 4%, the lines barely cross. At 5%, the break-even extends past 85. The break-even age for delayed claiming is typically around 80 to 82. Those who expect to live beyond that generally benefit from delaying, but that's at 0 return. Change the return assumption, and the math changes dramatically. Treasuries don't come without risk. Duration risk is real. If rates rise after you buy, the market value of your bonds falls. But from a pure credit risk standpoint, you're as close to government guaranteed as any investment on earth. The federal government can print money, and at 4%, the arbitrage between claiming early and investing those payments versus waiting makes the break-even almost academic for anyone with other income sources. Here's the pattern interrupt. Most financial content misses entirely. You think the question is, should I claim at 62 or 67? That's the wrong question. The right question is, what is my plan for the money either way? And do I have other income sources that make me a capital allocator rather than a survival claimer? Those are entirely different decision trees. If you need Social Security at 62 to pay rent, the investment arbitrage doesn't apply to you. If you have investment income, rental income, a pension, or a business, and claiming early is a capital allocation decision, the math tells a completely different story from the conventional just wait advice. And now I want to give you the number that should actually stop you. In 2024, life expectancy at birth was 79 years for the total US population, an increase from 78.4 in 2023. In 2024, life expectancy at age 65 for the total population was 19.7 additional years. So a 65-year-old American today can expect to live to approximately 84.7 on average. Those numbers look like an argument for waiting to claim, but life expectancy is the wrong metric. The metric you should be tracking is healthy life expectancy. Healthy life expectancy in the United States was 66.02 years, 65.13 years for males, and 66.93 years for females, based on WHO data. 66 years of healthy life. The average retirement age in the United States is approximately 65. That is a 1-year gap between when the average American stops working and when the average American's health starts meaningfully declining. 1 year. The entire debate about claiming at 62 versus 67 is being conducted inside a framework where the average American has approximately 1 year of genuinely healthy, fully active retirement either way. This is not a reason to panic. It's a reason to be honest about what you're actually optimizing for. The question isn't only how do I maximize total lifetime dollars received from Social Security. The question is how do I maximize the years in which I can actually enjoy having money and free time simultaneously. If a retirement age increase moves your effective exit from 65 to 67 or 69, you haven't just lost 2 to 4 years of income. For a statistically meaningful percentage of Americans, you've compressed most or all of the healthy active window you had. That's the cost that never appears in a congressional actuarial analysis. And it's the cost the 41-to-1 Ways and Means Committee vote went through without anyone stating clearly on the record. The financial advisor sitting across a mahogany desk told someone they know, "Don't worry, they just cleaned up the language." And they're not wrong, technically, but they missed the context. That's fine. They get paid 1% of your assets per year to miss the context. Now, for the layer that ties everything together and shows you exactly how the trap compounds over time. Here are the 3 levels of the Social Security claiming trap because there are 3 separate mechanisms working simultaneously, and most people are only tracking one. Level 1, the claiming decision and the break-even math. We've covered this. It's real, it's conditional on return assumptions, and the conventional wisdom underestimates how much the math changes when you're a capital allocator rather than a survival claimer. Level 2, the full retirement age manipulation. The 1983 phase-in just completed. A new increase proposal to 69 is documented and sitting on tables in Washington. The vocabulary has been updated to make the next increase smoother to implement. This is the structural risk layer most people aren't pricing into their planning. Level 3, the compounding base problem. This is the one that sneaks up quietly over decades. The COLA for 2026 is 2.8%. According to the Social Security Administration, the 2.8% increase will translate to an additional $56 for the average retiree, resulting in an average monthly check of $2,071, up from $2,015 in 2025. Sounds like a real raise. But watch what happens to that raise. That would effectively reduce the increase to the average Social Security check in 2026 from $56 to $38.10, after subtracting the Part B increase of $17.90 premiums, rose to $202.90 from $185 in 2025 from the 2026 COLA raise. In that scenario, the Part B increase will consume almost 32% of the monthly increase. 32% of your COLA raise went to Medicare Part B before you touched it. That's the COLA catch. 2-2. Higher inflation produces a higher COLA adjustment, but higher inflation also drives up Medicare costs. The two move in tandem. And because Medicare Part B is automatically deducted from Social Security checks, the net purchasing power gain from a COLA adjustment is structurally eroded every single year. Now, layer in the base problem. If you claimed early at 62 and locked in 70% of your full benefit, every COLA adjustment applies to a smaller starting number. A 2.8% COLA on $1,680 produces $47.04. A 2.8% COLA on $2,400 produces $67.20. That $20 a year difference compounds. Over 20 years, the early claimer isn't receiving a lower check. They're receiving COLA adjustments that produce fewer dollars in absolute terms every single year against the same rising Medicare premiums. The gap widens with time, not just at the moment of claiming. Let me make this concrete with a specific scenario. Someone born in 1968 is 57 years old in 2025. Solid career, solid earner. Their projected Social Security benefit at their full retirement age of 67 is $2,400 per month, slightly above average, reasonable for someone with a consistent work history. If they claim at 62, they receive 70%, $1,680 a month. That's $720 less per month permanently, subject to COLA adjustments from a lower base. If they wait until 67, they receive the full $2,400. Over 25 years of retirement, taking them to 87, close to the statistical life expectancy for a 65-year-old woman. Today, cumulative benefits at the early claim rate amount to approximately $504,000. At the full retirement age rate, approximately $720,000. That's a $216,000 difference at zero return on early benefits. But now run the Treasury arbitrage. If this person claims at 62 and invests every check in a 4% instrument, by the time they reach 78, the conventional break-even age, their invested portfolio from early benefits has accumulated enough capital that the lifetime total advantage of delayed claiming has substantially narrowed. This doesn't mean claiming early is automatically better. It means the decision depends almost entirely on whether you can invest those early payments and at what return, a variable the free calculators ignore by default. Now add the level 2 risk. If the full retirement age is raised to 69, not 67, this person who was planning to claim at 62 against a 67 FRA now finds themselves claiming against a 69 FRA. If the normal retirement age were eventually increased to 70 and the early eligibility age remained unchanged, workers claiming pensions at age 62 might receive monthly benefits as low as 52% of a full pension. At a 69 FRA, the actuarial reduction for claiming at 62 could produce a benefit closer to 52 to 55% of the new standard benefit. The same earnings record, the same person. A dramatically smaller check. Because Congress changed the name of the milestone they then moved. Same miles, new label. Over the next 75 years, the combined Social Security trust funds face an actuarial imbalance of 3.82% of payroll, the largest since 1977. A plan to restore solvency will require the equivalent of at least a 22% reduction in benefits for current and future beneficiaries, a 29% increase in payroll taxes, or some combination of the two. Neither of those happens cleanly. But raising the standard monthly benefit age by 2 years, phased in over 7 years, wrapped in vocabulary that no longer carries the charged phrase full retirement age, that's the 1983 move. That's the move that took 43 years to complete, and the vocabulary is now ready for the next iteration. The 1983 ghost story I've been telling throughout this video isn't a conspiracy. It's institutional behavior. Congress faces a trust fund crisis. They make structural changes behind neutral framing and a slow phase-in. Nobody announces a benefit cut. They announce a clarification, a modernization, a standard monthly benefit age adjustment. Some experts say it would be a stretch for the US to follow countries that have pushed retirement to 70 since US. Poverty rates are higher, leading life expectancy increases to be spread unevenly. There are increasing concerns in recent years about an across-the-board increase to the retirement age, given the disparities in longevity between higher earners and lower earners, folks with higher education levels and lower education levels. The burden of an age increase lands hardest on people with the least flexibility. It always has. And the new vocabulary makes the conversation easier to have in Washington without making it easier to live with on the ground. 3 things you can actually do with this information. Because a video that only makes you anxious is just anxiety with a thumbnail. First, model 2 full retirement age scenarios in your planning 67 and 69. Not as certainties, but as probabilities worth running numbers on. If the FRA increases, your claiming decision changes, your break-even changes, and your entire retirement income architecture shifts. The RSC proposal is documented. The trust fund math makes some form of intervention effectively inevitable. Build a plan robust enough to survive both outcomes, rather than assuming the current numbers hold. Second, stop letting the free calculator's zero return assumption make your claiming decision for you. If you have other income sources and you're making a strategic capital allocation decision, not a survival decision, run the break-even at 2, 4, and 5% returns before you commit to anything. The answer at 4% looks dramatically different from the answer at 0%. For many people in a position to think strategically about this, The difference between claiming ages is far smaller than the conventional wisdom suggests, and it hinges almost entirely on what you do with early payments. Third, separate total life expectancy from healthy life expectancy in every calculation you run. Life expectancy at birth in the US increased to 79 years in 2024, its highest ever level. However, the average life expectancy in comparable countries was 82.7 years, about 3.7 years longer than in the US. But even that 79 is not the number that should govern your planning. The WHO's healthy life expectancy data puts that figure at 66 years for Americans. 66. Every year, a policy change delays your effective retirement is not just moving income for a significant portion of the population, it's compressing the only time in their lives when they'll be genuinely healthy enough to enjoy what retirement is supposed to be. Build a plan that gets you out before that window closes, not one that depends on a government timeline that keeps quietly moving. Lazy investing built more fortune than crypto memes. The Claiming Age Clarity Act will probably get signed. The new terms will probably help some people make better decisions. And the 83 million Americans who rely on Social Security for a significant part of their monthly income will probably never read a congressional research brief about what the vocabulary change signals about the next structural move. That's fine. That's why this channel exists. The miles haven't changed, but the label is being updated. And now you know what to look for the next time Congress announces a